Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name is Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing the Reader's Problems tag. I saw this on Ariel Bassett's channel. I will link the video up in the cards. She said that she couldn't find the original, or that the original had been deleted, something to that effect. So I will do some research, but I don't believe there is an original video to link. So this has 11 questions, and we are just gonna dive right in because it's a while. You have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? It is a long process for me to decide what to read next, unless I have a book that I recently purchased that I'm dying to get to. So usually I have all of my TBR and read books separate. So I will usually sit down at the TBR shelf and go through each and every book and read the back and a few pages and see what catches me. Kind of like a try a chapter tag, but a little less public. If you guys ever want to see me try and choose a new book, let me know and I could do a video about it. But like it's a process. It's a long process because I put a lot of books in the running. You're halfway through a book and you're not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? It depends on the book. If it's a thriller, I'm committed and I'm going to go all the way through with it. If it's a fiction that's just like literary, I don't go all the way through with it, because usually in that situation it's the writing style or the character that I don't like. And if that's the case, then I'm not going to change my mind throughout the book. If it's a thriller and I just am mad at the plot twist that just happened, I might like the ending even though I didn't like the twist. Does that make sense? So it really depends on the genre. Nonfiction, I will also stop reading if I'm not enjoying it, because when I'm not enjoying a nonfiction, it's because I'm bored and I don't think it's worth my time to read something that bores me. The end of the year is coming and you're so close but so far from your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? I set my Goodreads challenge at 50 books, and I know I'm going to read more than that. Whether it be 100 to 200 books, I'm never sure. This year it's looking more like 160, maybe 150. But you never know, I might hit 200. But honestly, I set my goal low and then I just achieve higher. I never set my goal at my actual goal, like in my head, because if I do that and I fail, I'll beat the crap out of myself in my head. And I just don't have time for that. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? Oh, God. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I don't know how to cope. I would stop reading the series. Yeah. I would literally stop reading the series and sell all the books. And then if they came out in matching editions, I would buy them all again. But if they don't match, I can't do it. I have a couple of series that I don't love that are not matching. So, like, I have the Wayward series for The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and that I have 2 soft covers and a hardcover of. And I'm fine with that because the hardcover is signed. I actually own 2 copies of the Alice series by Christina Henry. because I liked both collections. So I own 2 copies of each of the books in that series because I like how they look together. My Harry Potter books all match. I didn't continue buying the series that are the house covers. I just didn't want to have all of those on my shelf. And I haven't bought the illustrated editions yet either. My series of The Girl Who Circumvented Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making doesn't match. But 3 of them are signed, and I just can't bring myself to replace 2 of them that are signed that are the wrong edition. I have the UK cover for the first one, and then the 5th one I have signed. So, and the first one I have signed, the 5th one I have signed, and the second one I have signed. But number 2, 3, and 4 are all matching. So it's a mixed bag. Honestly, if it stresses me out a little though. So I get stressed when that happens. Everyone and their mother loves a book and you really don't like. Who do you bond with over your shared feelings? I have 2 friends that read, and they read. One of them is my best friend Stevie, and the other one is my best friend Sarah. And Sarah reads fantasy and romance, and Stevie reads nonfiction and feminist books. So if I'm on those genres, I'll vent to them. But otherwise, I vent to Amanda Center, whose channel I'll link up in the cards. We don't always agree on what we don't like, but we listen and we are interested in what the other one has to say about whether or not they liked a book. So I would say Amanda Center is my go-to vent person. Because I'll vent to Stevie and Sarah, but they've usually never read the book I'm talking about, so I'm just convincing them not to read it. It's pretty straightforward. You're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you deal? I have cried in public on the bus. I have cried in public in a bookstore. I have cried in public in a coffee shop. I have cried in public at a bus stop. I have cried in public at the library. I just cry. I have no control. I really am not good at keeping those feelings locked away inside. I'm a crier, naturally. You can ask my partner. I cry at everything. So I have no shame. A sequel to a book you love just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try and find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry in frustration? Cry in frustration? Yeah, I will probably reread the first book because I like to reread the first book before I read the sequels anyway. So with the Planet Fall series, I have read the first book 4 times. Once when it came out, no, 5 times. Once when it came out and I got an ARC. Once when it came out in final copy. Once when it came out, once when the second book came out, once when the third book came out, and once when the 4th book came out. So I've read, and I've also listened to it on audio a couple of times. I've read that book a lot. And I've read the sequels at least 2 to 3 times, depending on where they stand in the series. I've only read the 4th book once. And I need to buy a final copy of it to match my series. I still have the ARC. And I also have the ARC of Before Mars. But I need to buy the final book in its finished form. But yeah, I'll usually cry first. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell no when people ask? I let people borrow my books when my Dad borrows them, I know they're coming back in bad condition. That's just a guarantee. So I only loan him books that I either read and didn't love, or that I know I can get a second copy of, or yeah, I don't loan him books thinking that I'm going to get them back in the best condition. My mom takes good care of my books. Apparently she spilled sauce on the Testament and got oil or something on the hardcover, but she took the dust jacket off, so it's not ruined. So I'm not too mad about that. She did that with Little too. But I pretty much would loan my books to anyone who asked. I just expect that if they break it, they buy me a new one. Unless they're my father. Then I just accept the consequences. Reading ADD, you picked up and put down over 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? I reread. I go to books that I've already read and loved, and then I reread until I get into the headspace where I know I can move on. So I'll reread 5 or 10 books before I get into a situation where I can try a new book. I'll usually try a new book between books and just see if I'm feeling it yet, but if I'm not, I just reread another book. Sometimes I'll binge a series and kind of like try and get out of that headspace, or I'll watch YouTube videos, but like you can't just watch a YouTube video and get out of a reading slump. That doesn't work. But yeah, that's kind of how I deal with it. What? Next question is, there are so many books coming out that you are dying to read. How many do you actually buy? So, I recorded this once, but it didn't record, so we're going to try this again. Let's say 20 to 30 books come out in a month that I'm interested in. I request all of them, and I receive maybe 5 to 10. Then I go through the other 10 or 20, and I read the synopsis again, and I think about what I'm in the mood for and what I think the book may end up being. Usually if it's on mental health, I'll buy it regardless. If it's feminist, I'll usually buy it regardless. If it's really something that I think is going to be hyped, I'll usually buy it so I can kind of talk about it while it's relevant. But overall, I'd say I wait on maybe 5 to 10 of those 20 books. And I buy the rest. I think that's about right. The other 5 or 10, I'm usually waiting to see what other people say about them in their reviews before I go and buy them, just because I may not be 100% sure if the plot's going to work for me. I may not be 100% sure if the character is going to work for me. I'll usually read a synopsis and a few pages. Like, I try a lot of different ways to go about it, so it takes me a good amount of time to decide whether or not I'm going to buy a book. I do a lot of research prior to purchasing a book, but then I usually go on to print and order it online and just have it to pick up in the store. After you've bought the new book and you can't wait to get to it, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? So that can vary. I've had, let's see, I just did a haul, which I'll link in the cards, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books. Out of those 13, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've read 5 of them already this month. I plan to read I've read 6 this month. I plan to read 1, 2, 3, 4 this month. And the rest of them I plan to put off until either November or December. I'm not sure how my December reading is going to go because I do plan to do Vlogmas. But in general, I usually read 25 to 30% of what I buy in a month, and then it takes me like a month or 2 to read the rest. But there are books that have sat on my shelves for years. But I call my books pretty frequently, so I feel like everything I have on my shelf I want to read and have an interest in. So I feel like I'll get to all of them. I eventually plan to get to all of them. I wouldn't own them if I didn't plan to get to them. So that's my spiel. I promise I'm not a book hoarder. No, I am a book hoarder. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so I will talk to you guys soon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button. I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday. I love my subscribers. I love my Patreons. I will talk to you all in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.